Hello viewers, students and aspirants. Welcome to Telugu One Academy. My name is Anand Pawar. I teach Indian polity. We have already discussed fundamental rights. In this class, we would be continuing with fundamental rights, that is Article 20 and 21. Article 20, it is against illegal detention, against offenses, conviction of offenses. We have already discussed this. This article is applicable to both citizens and foreigners. Indian citizens తో పాటు foreigners కూడా అప్లై అవుతుంది. Here article 20 which has against offenses, like if any person indulges in any offense, how he could protect himself. ఒక వ్యక్తి ఏదైనా పని చేసినప్పుడు, ఒక అఫెన్స్ పని చేసినప్పుడు జ్యుడిషియరీ కానీ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ కానీ అతని మీద చట్టరీత్యంగా ఏదైనా చర్య తీసుకుంటే, ఒకవేళ ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్కి అగేన్స్ట్గా ఉంటే వాట్ ఆర్ ద రెమెడీస్, ఏ రెమెడీస్ వాళ్ళు ఫాలో అవ్వచ్చు, పాటించవచ్చు. సో మనం చూసాము ఎక్స్ పోస్ట్ ఫ్యాక్టో లా అనేది. ఎక్స్ పోస్ట్ ఫ్యాక్టో లా అంటే పోస్ట్, దట్ ఈస్ ఆఫ్టర్. We can, any person who does a crime or who does an act is subjected to such sections or such punishment which is mentioned on that day or on that time. ఆ రోజు ఉన్న చట్టం ప్రకారం మాత్రమే ఒక వ్యక్తి శిక్షకి అర్హుడు. అదే కానీ రెట్రాస్పెక్టివ్గా క్రిమినల్ కేసెస్లో మనం చట్టాన్ని తీసుకువెళ్ళలేము. సో ఇన్ క్రిమినల్ కేసెస్ నో ఎక్స్ పోస్ట్ ఫ్యాక్టో లా. ఆ రోజుకి వెనుక అంటే వెనుకలో ఉన్న చట్టాన్ని మనము తీసుకురాలేము. ఓన్లీ ప్రాస్పెక్టివ్, ఆ చట్టం రోజు నుంచి ముందు వరకు అమల్లోకి ఉంటుంది. దట్ ఈస్ ఎక్స్ పోస్ట్ ఫ్యాక్టో లా. ఇది ఓన్లీ క్రిమినల్ కేసెస్కి మాత్రమే వర్తిస్తుంది. This ex post facto law is applicable only in criminal cases, not for civil and administrative cases. For example, when any government employee indulges in any crime or he is punished in any crime, then both judiciary and also department could take actions. This is ex post law and double jeopardy. What is double jeopardy? No person should be punished. As I said, no person should be punished twice for the same crime. ఒకటే క్రైమ్కి రెండు సార్లు పనిష్మెంట్ అనేది జరగకూడదు ఆర్ ఇవ్వకూడదు. సో నో డబుల్ జెపార్డీ. ఈవెన్ దిస్ ఈజ్ అప్లికబుల్ ఓన్లీ ఫర్ criminal cases and not for civil or administrative cases. No self incrimination. తనకు తానే ఎవిడెన్స్గా మారకూడదు. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ మోస్ట్లీ అప్లికబుల్ ఇన్ పోలీస్ ఏజెన్సీస్ కానీ కస్టోడియల్ టార్చర్స్ కానీ. ఒక మనిషి ఏదైనా క్రైమ్ చేస్తే అతను స్వయ నిర్ధారణ చేసుకోవడానికి వీలు లేదు. That particular person should not made himself evidence for the crime he has done. It is not valid in front of the court. So a person could not be forced, tortured both physically and mentally to become evidence for himself. So that is no self incrimination. These three are the things where a person could protect himself or herself in respect of conviction for any offense. So article 20 is important in terms of protecting oneself when there is any criminal things which is imposed by agency. Agency might be any enforcement agency, be it police, CBI, ACB, any enforcement agency which illegally makes charges and makes a person a self evidence. So these things can be protected. It is provided in our constitution, and article 20 is very powerful when it comes to self liberty or freedom of one person who is indulged in any offense. We'll move to next article. This is, we have already explained. So article 21. Article 21 is very important article in our constitution. Even judiciary says that Article 21 is a lifeline of fundamental rights. Even we can say that Article 21 comes under golden trinity. That is, it is one of the Article 14, Article 19 and Article 21. These three articles forms a golden trinity. Chala important ఈ ఆర్టికల్ రైట్ టు ఈక్వాలిటీ ఆర్టికల్ 14 రైట్ టు ఫ్రీడమ్ all those freedoms right from freedom of speech and expression. In all these we have many things like right to form associations, right to assemble, right to move anywhere, right to settle and right for occupation. So all this included in article 19 and article 21, that is protection of life and personal liberty. Very important, ఇది చాలా ముఖ్యమైన ఆర్టికల్. when it comes to life and personal liberty, article 21 is one of the golden trinity. Without protection of life, a citizen cannot enjoy his life in a particular manner. He should not have threat to his life so that he is limited for his actions. ఒక మనిషికి జీవించే స్వేచ్ఛ ఉన్నప్పుడే అతను స్వచ్ఛందంగా ఏదైనా పనికి పాల్గొంటాడు, లేదంటే హీ విల్ వర్క్ ఫర్ సంథింగ్ బెటర్ ఇఫ్ హీ డజంట్ హ్యావ్ థ్రెట్ టు హిస్ లైఫ్ ఆర్ పర్సనల్ లిబర్టీ. We can also say that this article cannot be easily taken away because we have many things, many provisions mentioned in our constitution. Two important things here is life and liberty. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. Here this is the important thing, procedure established by law. No person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty. That is, we have a procedure mentioned in our constitution in also various things, like we have IPC, Indian Penal Code, we have Criminal Procedure Code, we have Civil Procedure Code, and we have many other manuals, we have service rules. All are mentioned somewhere and base is constitution. So if you does any crime, if any crime is done, so according to the provisions mentioned in all those sources, according that source only a person should be punished. Otherwise there should be no arbitrary action, there should be no irrational action against any person. So whatever procedure we have established by law, by that procedure only a citizen or any person should be punished. That is, no person shall be deprived of his life and his personal liberty. This thing, procedure established by law, we have taken from Japan constitution. We have taken this from Japan. We have one another thing also, that is due process of law. There is a difference between procedure established by law and due process of law. Very important, we need to know the difference between procedure established by law and due process of law. This we have taken from American Constitution. So what is the difference? When we say procedure established by law, we have certain written procedure. We have written procedure. As we know we have three agencies. One is legislature, second is executive and judiciary. So all these three branches of government have their unique nature of working. They derive their power from the constitution. Constitution gives all these three agencies power to function. So legislature has a power to make laws. Legislature frame laws. Executive implement those laws and judiciary interprets those laws. as judiciary is the custodian of our constitution, and constitution is the source of power for all these three agencies. If there is any law which takes away the fundamental rights of any citizen, then judiciary will interfere. Judiciary will interfere and it makes those law invalid. It declares those law invalid which is against natural justice or against the common life of people. Like if it take away the fundamental right of any citizen, then citizen can move the court and court will declare such law as void or invalid. So when we say procedure established by law, here Parliament is the supreme body to frame such laws, and judiciary only when the Parliament is against the constitution brings any law, then only judiciary will intervene, it will interfere and declares such law as invalid. That is procedure established by law. Here the ultimate power to make laws is with legislature. In our case, it is with Parliament. So judiciary cannot unnecessarily question the policies of the legislature. ఒక లెజిస్లేచర్ ఒక పాలసీ తీసుకొస్తే ఆ పాలసీ వెనుక ఉద్దేశాన్ని క్వశ్చన్ చేసే హక్కు జ్యుడిషియరీకి లేదు. దీని ప్రకారంగా ప్రొసీజర్ ఎస్టాబ్లిష్డ్ బై లా. ఎందుకంటే ఏదైనా పాలసీ తయారు చేయడం అనేది, పాలసీ తీసుకురావడం అనేది అది ఎక్స్క్లూజివ్ జ్యూరిస్డిక్షన్ ఆఫ్ పార్లమెంట్. పార్లమెంట్ మాత్రమే కొన్ని చట్టాలు తీసుకురావచ్చు. అదే స్టేట్లో అయితే అసెంబ్లీ చట్టాలు తీసుకురావచ్చు. ఈ చట్టాలు కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్కి వ్యతిరేకంగా ఉన్నప్పుడు మాత్రమే కోర్ట్ ఇంటర్ఫియర్ అయి అలాంటి చట్టాలని ఇన్వాలిడ్గా డిక్లేర్ చేస్తుంది. అంతేకాని ఇట్ విల్ నాట్ క్వశ్చన్ ద పాలసీ ఆఫ్ సచ్ లా. దర్ ఇస్ అ డిఫరెన్స్. హియర్ డ్యూ ప్రాసెస్ ఆఫ్ లా. Here in due process of law, judiciary have active role. In due process of law, judiciary can question the policies framed by the parliament or legislature. This we have brought from United States of America, where more power is given to judiciary, not parliament. So here we have judicial activism, judicial supremacy. In United Kingdom, that is in England, we have parliamentary sovereignty. We have parliamentary sovereignty. Much power is not there for judiciary. And as we studied in features of Indian Constitution, our Constitution is a blend of both parliamentary supremacy and judicial supremacy. So both have been incorporated in our constitution. So that is the reason why our court will become active when there are few laws which is against the will of the people or against the constitution. So in due process of law, the judiciary can question both parliament and executive. But in procedure established by law, the judiciary can intervene only when there is a problem with execution of such policies. So here already we have established a procedure, and if only when the executive agency or the implementing body acts against such laws which are framed by the legislature, then only the court could interfere. Here in due process of law, the court or the judiciary can interfere when there is a problem with both implementing agency, that is executive, and also with legislature, that is policy formulation body. So due process of law has a wider scope than procedure established by law. We should discuss a few cases regarding this due process of law. For example, we have Gopalan case of 1950. What exactly happened in A.K. Gopalan case? A.K. Gopalan case versus Madras State, where the Gopalan has been detained. Gopalan was a freedom fighter and he has been detained. So he has gone to court. Then court said, no, state has all the power. State has all the power to detain a person. But there are many cases which has gone beyond after many years. So in Gopalan case, the court did not went against the state, saying that state has legislative power and it can pass any law. But again, after many years, in Menaka Gandhi case, that is 1978, the court has revisited all these things and said that it is not only procedure established by the law, but due process of law should be followed. And since then, from this case, from Menaka case, the court now follows due process of law. That is, the court can also interfere the legislative body when its law are against the natural justice or against the constitution. So here in due process of law, the court will question both policy formulation body and also policy implementation body, that is legislature and executive. We'll discuss this case in detail in our next class. So we need to understand what is procedure established by the law and due process of the law. Due process of law has a wider scope which gives judiciary more power to interpret and to know the thought behind the formulation of the policies, the object behind the policy formulation, not only the policy implementation. So it can also question the object or the reason behind those policies, why the policy has been brought. It is not only how it is implemented, it could also question why, what is the reason for this policy. So that is due process of law, where judiciary has more scope and it has more power to interpret the laws. So protection under Article 21 is available only against arbitrary executive action and not from arbitrary legislative action. Here this statement says that we have followed procedure established by law, because here under this is available only arbitrary executive, that is only for executive, that is implementing agency. Here the court will not question the policies of the legislature. This is before Menaka case. This statement is before Menaka case. Now at present, the court also questions the legislature, the court also questions the parliament for the policies it has brought, and it will also question the objective of the policies. If the policies are against the constitution or against the will or interest of majority of the people. So here in procedure established by the law, it only acts against the arbitrary executive action, but not for arbitrary legislative action, because here we have given legislator a sovereign power. Legislator has a sovereign power, that is it can make any law, because we follow a representative form of democracy. We will send those representatives to frame law for the people. So that body, the legislative body, will frame law in the interest of the people. That is what actually we thought of. But as we know, even that small group of people may frame such policies which may be at sometimes against people's interest. That is the reason after Menaka case, court has said that even legislative action should also come under scrutiny, because in due process of law, we not only see the procedure of implementing, but we also see what is actually get implemented. So here both policy and the method of implementation can be questioned by the judiciary. So state can deprive the right of life and personal liberty of person based on law. In some cases the state can deprive. For example, we have preventive detention. Under preventive detention, any person can be detained without proper crime. So if any person, even if he or she has not indulged in any crime, can also be detained by the enforcement agencies and can be held for 2 months. Actually it was 3 months, we have reduced it for 2 months now, because that stops that person to do a crime. It is a preventive detention, that is, the state is preventing a person to commit a crime in future. We have punitive detention. This type of detention is only when a crime is done and the court follows a due process and punishes a person and holds that person in jail or contains him in jail. That is punitive detention. This is after the crime is done, after the guilt is found, and after he is convicted, then only we have punitive detention. But in preventive detention, a person can be held without actually committing any crime, but he may be a threat to the society for that time being, so he can be detained. He can be detained and put in a custody. He can be house arrested, or he may not be let to go outside of that premises. So we have punitive detention. As we have clearly said, state can deprive life and personal liberty based on law. We have a law. Like in section 144 of IPC, we can detain a person. We can go for a curfew, such thing. So this is what the judiciary can intervene in case where the state detains a person illegally. That is, even if there is an arbitrary action which is against the law, which is mentioned in many sources, then a person can challenge that detention and move the court. So this is the two important cases. In Gopalan case, the court has followed procedure established by law. After many years, in Menaka Gandhi case, the court has said that procedure established by law can also be misused at some times. So the court said it has to follow due process of law. అయితే డ్యూ ప్రాసెస్ ఆఫ్ లాలో స్కోప్ అనేది పెద్దగా అయిపోతుంది. అది లెజిస్లేటివ్ యాక్షన్ని కూడా క్వశ్చన్ చేసే రైట్స్ వస్తుంది జ్యుడిషియరీకి. అంతకుముందు ఓన్లీ ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్ యాక్షన్స్ని మాత్రమే క్వశ్చన్ చేసేది ఇన్ ప్రొసీజర్ ఎస్టాబ్లిష్డ్ బై ద లా. డ్యూ ప్రాసెస్ ఆఫ్ లా ఫాలో అయిన తర్వాత ఆ పాలసీస్ ఏదైతే ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్ యాక్షన్ ఉంటుందో ఆ ఫ్రేమ్ చేసిన పాలసీ యొక్క ఉద్దేశాన్ని కూడా ఛాలెంజ్ చేసే ప్రయత్నం చేస్తుంది ఇక్కడ. సో దీస్ టూ కేసెస్ ఆర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ ప్రొసీజర్ ఎస్టాబ్లిష్డ్ బై ద లా and due process of law.